My guest in this final segment is Craig Blais, who is the President and CEO of the Worcester Business Development Corporation, also known as the WBDC. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you for having me, Tim. Glad to be back.
Craig, on the show, we've talked about the WBDC and the role that it plays in facilitating economic development and investment in the region. Maybe you could give the 30-second version for our viewers, and then we can get into really exciting development over the last couple of weeks.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've been around for 51 years. We started our 51st year, and we're sort of the bridge between the public and private sector. We play that role as a private nonprofit to bring the resources that are needed sometimes to subsidize the deal that wouldn't traditionally get done. There's usually some problem with the site or permitting or difficulty to get something jump-started in a market. So we get involved, and that's our mission, to get involved, and our mission is very clear. We create jobs and expand tax base for local municipalities, and that's what we do, and that's what our staff is trained to do, and we work hard to bridge that gap and act as the catalyst between the private sector and the public sector.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should take an extra 30 seconds to drill down on it, because I think it's really important for our viewers in that. So there are some deals the private sector won't do. So if you've got a severely contaminated brown site, the company that created it doesn't even exist anymore. There's no funds to clean it up. It's not likely that another private sector company is going to come in, take ownership, deal with liability issues, and then clean it up. You're able to come in that type of situation, acquire it, sort out the liability issues, put funding together from different sources to clean it up and get it. So it's a private sector developer would then maybe come in.
Exactly. We sort of clean the slate for the developer. A lot of times the market conditions, rents in which you charge, or the type of capital and financing that the private sector raises, they cannot absorb those types of expenses. So we come in, there are programs, both federal, state, and local programs that we are eligible to apply for. So we have this creative way in which a wholly owned subsidiary that the WBDC owns, called New Garden Park, Inc., is able to take title to properties like that, assemble during that time as an innocent owner of the property, provide indemnification to the previous owner, and then essentially bring the resources together to clean up and lower the overall development costs for the developer. So then we get the property in line to have a chance to be redeveloped, and that's the role we play.
And Gateway Park and Worcester, a partnership between the WBDC and WPI, and then federal, state, local monies helping, do that.
The Voc School,
the Worcester, Worcester Voc, the old Telegram building, 20 Franklin Street, Centec Park, in Grafton.
Centec Park was a little bit of a different scenario. There were not. It was a sort of a greenfield site, if you will, but didn't have the infrastructure that was needed to create the jobs and to
utilities, water, sewer, road.
Pulled all that together, those types of grants, put all that in place, permitting, and then sold those sites off to developers like State Street Bank, which located there, which is a great taxpayer, an electricity buyer from the town of Shrewsbury. So we were able to pull together those types of deals. And again, if the private sector could develop an industrial park, we wouldn't be involved in it. It's those sites that.
And then, for the biotech park, back at the earliest days of the WBDC.
Going way back when you or I were in grammar school running around, they were building the biotech park.
And a long-standing partnership and relationship between the Chamber and the WBDC as well throughout that time. But let's bring it to the last few weeks. A big announcement, again, a brownfield site that the WBDC got ownership of. Press met. Why don't you tell our viewers about that?
So we've been at this for about 5 years now, just to give you an idea of how long these types of projects take. And 3 years ago, we approached the owners of the Pressmet site, which is an old abandoned factory that was closed, unfortunately, in 2007. Sort of left the sins of the Industrial Revolution, if you will, to the site. We approached them 3 years ago and said we had this idea that we could do just that, acquire the site from them. It was a very creative way. They could donate it to our nonprofit. They take essentially a tax deduction for that donation, and then we assembled, working with the state and the city of Worcester and Congressman McGovern and the federal government, EPA. We assembled about $3 million of eligible cleanup money for that site. You have to remember the companies during the time in which some of these contaminants were put in place in the building, PCBs and asbestos and all that sort of stuff. It was allowed as part of their operations. The regulations changed over the years, and what happens is that is what's left when the company closes. So these programs fit nicely to clean up. It's good for the environment, it's good for the neighborhood, it's good for public health in general, but it's really good for development. So what we do is we assemble that, and we're able to get those funds to demolish the building, to clean up the site, get it pad ready. Fortunately, in this deal, we had a group of local users in the hockey world, both at the youth level, at the college level, high school level, were all interested in seeking out a home for their various programs that represent all the families and individuals in the Worcester.
I think between the
area.
Worcester Sharks and the Crusaders, you're talking 1,200 kids,
1,200
families.
kids, yeah, 1,200 families,
who
right
traveling outside the area,
Absolutely.
or limited ice in the area to play.
A lot of folks didn't know Worcester State University didn't have home ice in Worcester. It was outside of Worcester. Worcester Academy, same. So we put those groups together, and we said there was the kernel of a deal here, because they buy a lot of ice, they spend a lot of money on this, and they wanted to do it here in the city. So we kept that group together, and we found a great development group in Marathon Development. Cliff Rucker, who
the Worcester Railers.
Worcester Railers came together with a group from Rhode Island, and they forged a strong partnership. And now we're moving forward with them developing the rink, and hot off the press.
So we got 3 minutes left, and working City Manager Augustus, the mayor, the city's economic development and planning departments. Last week, the planning board voted 4-0 on the plan, and then again working with the neighborhood and some of the Canal District leaders. There were significant changes made to the rink design, and maybe you could just give a little overview of
Sure. Hot off the press. This is what is under construction. Today we're doing the demo work now, but I really want to thank the neighborhood group, Mullen Sawyer and
Canal
Ed
District
Russo
Alliance,
and the Canal District Alliance came together and really provided good input that they wanted to see. Alan Fletcher. They wanted to see a facade that faced Harding Street that would activate Harding Street. So we worked closely with the developer. We were able to get 40,000 square feet of retail development on the Harding Street side. The twin rinks will be behind this retail piece, which will activate Harding Street. It got better as the development cycle and the planning cycle went on, as this two-story glass curtain wall, was then wrapped around to Winter Street to take about 1/3 of the building going up Winter Street, which is great. This is the type of urban planning that is important. We want this rink to be opened up to the neighborhood so that folks can enjoy what's happening in the Canal District, which is extremely exciting, with Crompton Collective and all the bars and eating establishments and restaurants in the area, who were all so supportive of the project. This project's going to bring 100,000 people to the Canal District a year.
Conservatively.
And if you think about the Hanover Theater brings a couple 100,000 people in, this brings close to that. So great.
Great project, and I think paying about $300,000 a year in taxes.
$300,000 a year, jobs. I want to thank the city administration. Thank yourself, Tim, for the advocacy, the Chamber of Commerce, with meeting with all the local businesses. So it's going to be a great project.
Well, good. Well, Craig, we're going to bring you back as things move along so we can update our viewers, but I want to thank our sponsors, Fallon Health and Worcester Bravehearts Baseball, and so hockey, baseball, sports, economic development, all happening here in Worcester and the region. So until next time, Tim Murray signing off for this edition of Chamber Exchange.